Hello, I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. Today I'm shooting a little video on how to get your car ready for a big road trip. So the first thing we need to determine is if you're going to check the car out yourself or take it into your repair shop. And I'm going to give you some tips for both taking your car in and doing it. One of the first steps I always do when preparing my vehicles for road trips is I check the mileage. So I'll figure out whatever mileage the car has, and then I'm going to look up in the owner's manual and I'm going to see what the recommended service for that is. So this vehicle's at 52,000 miles, so I'm going to look it up for the 50,000 mile service to see if I did that, my last service. I'm going to check my records and see if I did those services first. Then I'm going to check out what the services are due now at this point in time, and then I'll check and see what the next service is and the next 5,000 miles. And the reason why I do that is so if I'm going on a really long road trip and up and coming service, maybe a timing belt, and I'm really close to it, I may go ahead and do that service before I go on my trip. So that's something you may consider. So if you're checking the vehicle out yourself, you're obviously going to open the hood and check all your fluids. So your washer fluids, your coolant reservoir bottle, the actual radiator fluid in the radiators. You're going to check your oil, your transmission. Some of these vehicles may or may not be able to do this. Some transmission fluids you can't check without having it on the hoist and stuff, so that would be something you would have your technician look into. You're also going to want to check the conditions of your belts and hoses before you go on your road trip. So you're going to be looking for cracks. You're also going to be looking for the adjustment if it's too loose or too tight, and you might want to fix that. And then also you're going to check the condition of the hoses. And one of the best ways to do that is squeeze the hose, and if a lot of times they make a crunchy noise, and if you start hearing that crunchy noise, it's an indication that it's breaking down internally, so hoses rot from the inside out. Or if the hose just feels really soft, like the rubber feels really soft, they have some resistance to them when they're in good shape. So you just kind of do them by feel. And if your vehicle's got a lot of high miles on it and their original equipment, you may want to change those hoses out before your road trip too. You're also going to want to check the condition of your battery, make sure it's not leaking any acid out of it, or have it load tested, make sure that the battery testing spec. You also may want to check your air conditioning, make sure your air conditioning is working before you go on your trip. And if it's not working up to par, maybe have it topped off a charge or checked out by your technician. Definitely going to check the condition of your wiper blades and the operation. You're going to want to check the conditions of your tires, make sure they're in perfect shape, so you don't want to see any wear on the edges or in the center. If you see wear on one edge, that means you probably have an alignment problem. If you see wear on left and right side, that most likely means that you are running your tires at too low air pressure. And if you see a extreme wear in dead center of the tire, that means you're running your air pressures too high, so you need to adjust your air pressures. And they have these little wear bars, these little bars inside your tires, and if your tread is worn down to those bars, you definitely need to replace those tires before going on any trip. When you're checking your air pressures, also remember to check the spare tire. You definitely don't want to have a flat tire and then find out that your spare is flat on your road trip. Another tip I wanted to give you is when you're checking your air pressures and stuff, you also want to locate your wheel lock key. Know where that is if your vehicle has those. You would hate to get a flat tire and have to change your tire, and then you can't find your wheel lock key or find out it's missing. And you're definitely going to want to have your brakes checked out or check your brakes out yourself. So you're going to check the thickness. When you're driving it, you're going to pay attention to the brake pedal and if it pulsates or vibrates, anything like that. You're also going to want to check your brake system, and that includes the master cylinder and the brake fluid itself. You want to make sure it's full. You also want to make sure that it's clean. And so if it's in some type of condition like this one here, you might want to change the fluid out before your road trip. You're going to want to check your suspension before you go on your trip. So you're going to either do it yourself or have your technician or whoever works on your car to check the conditions of the tie rods, the ball joints, the shocks and struts, the axles and CV boots. You want to make sure none of that stuff is in bad shape before you go on your trip. You're going to want to check the condition of all your lights, turn signals, brake lights, headlights, high beams, low beams, and make sure they're all functioning before you go on your trip. And if you're going to do it yourself or have somebody check them out. So no matter how old or new your vehicle is, I recommend you getting it checked out before a road trip. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive, and I'd like to wish you happy trails on your trips this holiday season. Encourage you to subscribe invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again.